Good morning. At the dome, the time will be 1, 2, 3, 4. Exactly.
Woke up this morning without a warning. Words were still ringing in my head. It came, it seemed within my dream, a gentle voice, and this is what it said. Stop now, you got to stop and listen to what I think. Stop and feel that you've been missing.
Welcome to the 100th Monkey Radio with Tom and LFE. We are recording this on November 8th of 2015. And what is this, take 8?
Take 8, 9, something like that.
Something like that. Boy, man, I had what's it called? Cranial rectal inversion. Right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Cranial rectal inversion, yeah.
Yeah, so...
well, what's that in layman's terms, Tom?
Yeah, okay, yeah. I think most people will be able to figure that one out. So here we've been sitting here trying to get the recorder to work, and every time we'd record, it was like just really super quiet. And I'm like, man, this mic sounds a lot better than that. I know it. Here I was.
Take after take.
Take after take after take. Getting angry because I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on with my computer. And just as I was about to say, I said, screw it, I'm going to reboot my computer and see if that helps. Just as I was doing that, I caught my headphones sitting off to the side, out of the corner of my eye. And I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Yeah. So, yeah, actually, you know, those headphones on, the microphone on those headphones actually picks up really well.
Yeah.
And,
they're sitting, 5 feet away from us on the ground almost, and they're, barely picking up what we're talking about into this other mic that's not working.
Right. So, anyways, we're doing our Monkey Crew review show today, and we actually did one last month for you guys. It turned out really good, and it was awesome. Except for that old cranial anal inversion thing going on. Cranial rectal inversion.
Yeah.
Anal works too, right?
Yeah, same thing. Yeah.
So, anyways, we have about a little over 2 months worth of shows to talk about. And, besides that, it's been a very interesting fall. So far, despite all the crap that's going on out in the world, which I don't catch all of it. I don't have TV. Yeah. I don't watch the news, so I kind of limit my garbage intake, right? Man, what the hell's going on this planet? I mean, it seems like screws are getting looser out there. I mean, people are not quite able to keep the image up.
Yeah, the illusion.
Well. Right. I mean, things are. I mean, we've been seeing this for a long time. Things are starting to crumble in society. I mean, we talk about this shift that's going on a lot. The way the times that we live in right now are amazing in the amount of change and how rapid the change is happening. 50 years down the road, 100 years down the road, we'll look back at this time and look at this shift and go, wow, that happened fast.
Yeah.
Like a blink of the eye, right?
Yeah. It's easy to look back on something and say how fast it happened, but, day-to-day life, a lot of us get stuck in that day-to-day life, and, it's hard to see that shift happening when you're stuck in that day-to-day life and you want that immediate gratification. But I've noticed here in the last few months, I've set my intentions, and I'm constantly setting my intentions for, you know, states of being I want to obtain, you know, states of thinking I want to obtain, states of, you know, lifestyle that I want to obtain. And, you know, I still set my intentions and I still go through that, but it's almost at that point where, you know, you let go and you just say to yourself, if it's for my highest good, then it's going to happen. And if it's not, then I don't want it because it's not for my highest good. And it was like at that point where I just, you know, I had that knowing that, you know, it'll happen if it's supposed to. You know, just, you know, be open for it and be ready for it, but it'll happen if it's supposed to. And I just kind of released it and just let it go. And then just here in this last week, you know, so many things have lined up that have just come, that have, you know, come true that I've been, you know, intending for. And it's when you get to that point where it's just, you know, you realize that if it's supposed to happen, it will. You know, I mean, do what you can, do your part, and the universe is going to do its part. You know, you keep moving, you keep taking steps forward, and it's going to happen.
We're the ones that get in our own way, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we put this stuff out there, you know, ask universe for this, and, you know, try to manifest things into our lives. And we're always the first one to short circuit it. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing the way universe reacts. I mean, here's an experiment, awesome experiment to do. You know, get yourself in a good state, you know that you are part of the universe and that you're connected, and go into some place like a mall or just the grocery store or a restaurant or some place where other people are around having conversations, and actively talk to universe, and then listen in metaphor. You know, listen to the conversations around you in metaphorically, and listen to universe responding to you. It's absolutely phenomenal how responsive universe is. I mean, instantly answering questions in metaphoric form, you know, because you're listening to whatever happens to catch your ear. You know, don't strain yourself and really, I mean, just, you have to have a kind of a relaxed flow with this for it to really just like be amazingly responsive and cleaner. Yeah. Cleaner, I guess, is the best way to put it, because it'll actually answer very directly and very articulate in an easy metaphor to translate.
Yeah, but you know, that, like what you're saying, you know, go to a mall, you know, and just walk down the corridor and listen to the people talking that are walking past you. You know, it doesn't have to be just one, you know, two people talking a whole conversation, but, you know, fragments of different conversations that are happening. You know, and that's, you know, I find that, you know, a lot. And even before I was even looking for it, it was just one of those weird things where it's, you know, I was just talking to somebody earlier about something, and then I'm walking through the mall with my girlfriend, and we walk past 20 people having different conversations, and all their conversations line up in some way to what I was just, you know, pondering on.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing.
It happens, you know, it's just about being open to it.
Well, everybody's had that experience of, you know, they're thinking about something, and then the perfect song comes on the radio. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like exact right song comes on the radio that's just like a reflection out of your own mind. Well, you know what? It is a reflection.
Yeah.
It is absolutely a reflection. It's a responsive system that we live in. I mean, we've talked a lot about energy, you know, our energy fields. And we all are, you know, if you can picture that sphere of energy that is surrounding your being, your specific point in consciousness, you're in spatially within this universe. You gotta, and this is all ultimately metaphor for reality, but you picture yourself as a ball of energy, and you're moving through this universe and this fabric of third dimension, and your energy is affecting the energy of everything else around you. And as you move through that, every piece that you come in contact with, you're having an influence on. Now, some of this stuff, depending on the energy, is going to repel, and some of it is going to attract. And if your energy is and this is great for what we were talking about walking through the mall, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if your energy is focused on, whatever your energy is focused on, is what you're going to be drawing towards you. And whatever your energy isn't focused on is only, well, I mean, there's a full spectrum of this. It can be all the way from being drawn towards you or being completely repelled, and everywhere in between, depending on the energy that you're carrying. And this is how we change the world too. I mean, as we're moving through the world, our energies traveling through the world, then every other energy that it comes in contact with, it has an influence on. It changes its vibration. It changes its essence. Just like touching wet paint. I mean, that's some of it's going to rub off on everything that you encounter.
Yeah, when I was in college, I was taking classes in forensic investigation, and one of the theories is they have this theory called a Locard's theory of exchange, and it's when any object comes into contact with any other object, pieces of each object rub off on each other. And however, and this is very third dimensional speaking, but in however minute,
as above, so below. Yeah,
exactly. However minute, the particles that will exchange to each other, there's still some sort of exchange. And like you said, as above, so below. When we're walking through life, anything we come in contact with, we're going to leave a piece of ourselves there. And then we're going to bring a piece of that with us. But it's what we do with that. We do these sweat lodges, and one of the things we talk about in the sweat lodge is this air that we're breathing right now, these molecules of air we're taking into our lungs. And when we're breathing out our intentions, and we're speaking our intentions to the universe. So those air molecules are charged with our intentions. And those air molecules are going to come in contact with other air molecules, and that exchange is going to happen. And more is going to happen over and over and over again. And it's going to be to a certain point in time, somewhere in the future, that pretty soon in every breath of air that every living creature is breathing, our intentions, no matter how minute that energy signature is going to be in those air molecules that living being is breathing in. And so, when we're doing this, we're keeping that in mind that, eventually these intentions are going to reach every living creature on this planet. From this planet, or maybe from other planets too. But that's how powerful we are.
Think about, here, somebody, I can't remember where I heard this at. Right now, we're breathing the same air that Jesus breathed. You think about it, the way it goes through its cycle, right? It expands.
Yeah.
I mean, it all becomes, it's like a big melting pot, a drop of water in the ocean, right? Eventually, that drop of water is exchanged with the rest of the water, and now it's all, I mean, they meld together, they merge together, and essentially it's now touched the whole ocean, right?
Yeah.
The same thing with energy. We're living proof of our ancestry, the energetic ancestry that has been here. Whether it's us or the times that we've been here, and I mean everything that's happened in the past, we are the result of. And if you look at this on the energetic level, that bubble of energy metaphor, and consider that our direct influence right now, what we're doing right now, it may take a little while for that energy that we're creating right this moment to actually get out far enough and touch enough of the universe to bring to us what it is that we're energetically looking for. I mean, the pinnacle of my manifestation, right? The widget or the thing I want to see manifest in third dimension. For that, sometimes it takes a while for that to come back to you. And we were talking about getting in our own way. That if you can hold that energetic pattern, if you can hold it, reinforce it, and this is where things like mantras, having a vision board, that sort of thing really come in handy. If you can, vision boards are very powerful. If you can put something in your line of sight, something visually, the way it actually affects your awareness and your consciousness, absolutely amazing. Visualization, all this stuff works too. It works good, and it can be extremely successful. But if you're, most of us on the planet right now aren't at that point where we don't need some sort of a tool to use along with our manifestation. Yeah. Right? Things come to us regardless. Yeah. Regardless of, what tools you use. That's just part of life here. It's always cause and effect, right? The energy we're putting out is the energy we're receiving, right? In some form, obviously it shifted, changed. Right?
Yeah. Well, I find that even with myself, I'll do a meditation, and I'll be focusing on abundance and prosperity, and sustainability, right? And I'll go in through it, and I'll do my little thing, and then, I find myself a couple hours later talking, and somebody will say, hey, you want to go do this? And it's like, oh, well, I do, but I ain't got the money for it right now. Well, shit, that, you just, all that work you just did to manifest that, you find yourself, oh, yeah, I do, but I can't. I can't afford it. I can't do this. I can't do this. And it's like, shit, I just got done spending a half an hour in meditation going through this to manifest these things I want. And now, right after it, I'm putting limitations on it.
Right.
It's, yeah.
So, what I found helpful for myself is I catch myself when I do that. My flags, I've talked a lot. I throw my flags. And when I do find myself reacting like that and losing sight of what I'd been putting out into the universe, then I will throw that flag and I'll take a look at it and see if there's another way I can say the same thing that has more positive energy and does not short circuit
all the work you just
the work I just did.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just as simple as going, oops, let me reaffirm. And reaffirmation, affirmations, the vision board, the things like that. To bring it back onto the path. Because when you short circuit it like that, and we do, I do it horribly every day, and I throw flags every day, and draw myself back on the path. So, God, doing this show, especially some of the people we've had on in the last couple of months, there's been so much reinforcement that I've gained the last couple of months through the shows. One in particular, Franco Di Nicola. The guy is connected in, and he's brought more clarity to me, and allowed me to gain a firmer grasp on what is reality. I'm not talking third dimensional reality. I'm talking about reality, the capital reality, all in capital letters. Yeah. Boom, there it is, the real shit, man. Yeah. This is where when we don't have that cranial rectal inversion thing going on.
Yeah, and Franco, oh my goodness, it's like, any question that we have, he's just so tapped in, and he's gotten to a place in his life where, just talking to him, he feels so comfortable with Franco. He has, it doesn't seem like he has, any barriers. It's like he's full Franco.
Right.
It's like, Alice has got her muchness
the
back.
integrated.
Yeah.
The integrated being, is a good example of what happens when you really do start, when you start really pulling your whole being, your higher self, and your third dimensional self merge.
Yeah, working from a place of truth.
Right.
You know,
right.
I mean, we see a lot of different people that, you know, have similar ways of doing things. You know, and you know, a lot of so-called power can be pulled, you know, from all different directions, but you're not getting the full extent of it. You know, you're not getting the full harmonious extent of it until you're pulling from a place of truth.
Right.
You know, and with Franco, I mean, I really feel like, you know, he's pulling from a place of truth.
Right, and you'll note when he talks, it's the way he explains things. We were talking about metaphor a little bit ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it all has to come in metaphor, because these things are not something that you can actually explain
in a scientific manner.
In a scientific manner, and get somebody to really understand what you're talking about. I mean, it has to come in metaphor to help lead a person to their own self-exploration and their own self-experiential knowing.
Yeah. Well, you know, and the thing with metaphors is that even if, you know, the metaphor that somebody's talking about, even if those same scenarios haven't happened like that in your life, you've had aspects of that happening, you know, or you've seen that happening. Or even if it's never happened to you, or you haven't seen it happen, and it's something that you can relate to, or you can put yourself in those shoes.
Yeah, you know, there's got to be some kind of common ground, experiential common ground.
Yeah.
For a person to even get a glimpse of what a metaphor is talking about, and help them. I mean, some metaphors are just, they fall on deaf ears. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's just the way we are. We're all in different places on our paths, and some people are ready to hear some things and understand them, and some aren't. But regardless of whether they're ready or not, if you're not ready to hear something, and you do hear it, that's going to be stored back there. You know, that's going to be stored back there in your memory, and it's going. Here we go, that energy thing, right? It was you got some of that energy on you. And that metaphor is there for you to access somewhere down the road, if and when you ever need it, and it'll add to experientially, it'll add to your database. You know,
well, the whole metaphor, you know, like that one metaphor in the Bible, you know, with the seed sower, you know,
right.
Throws the seed in fertile ground, throws it in the ditch, and throws it on the road,
right?
You know, I've never, you know, when I first heard that metaphor, I'd never planted any seeds before, you know, but just that metaphor alone, you know, I don't have to be a farmer to understand what it's saying.
Right.
You know, and it's one of those metaphors where, you know, they're not, yeah, you're talking about seeds, but there's a lot more to just, you know, seeds of plants as opposed to seeds of thought or seeds of ideas or, you know, seeds of life.
Yeah. And you're throwing some energy out there, and you're going to throw it out you're going to sow it in the field.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Your energy bubble. We're talking about our energy bubble as we're moving through. We're sowing our seeds in the field, and some of those seeds are going to take hold, and they're going to come back to us. Now, that depends on what seeds you're throwing, right?
Yeah.
What energy you're throwing. And you're throwing, I mean, all of us, I know, me included, everybody that I know throws both positive and negative seeds out there constant all day long. You know, you're throwing both your crap out there and your good shit out there. And you know, I guess it just depends on how much crap you're throwing out and how much good stuff you're throwing out on what you're going to harvest, right?
Yeah.
And how many weeds you got to chop through to get it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no shit. Yeah, you're going to throw out a bunch of weeds, a bunch of seed weeds, and then and then one pearl out there.
Seeds, too.
Weed seeds. Yeah, both.
Yeah.
It's Washington State.
So Franco talked about, we talked to Franco about ETs and their influence.
Oh yeah.
That was some good stuff. I mean, that's the kind of thing when you start. I mean, I know most people, you know, it's thanks to the propaganda, you know, UFOs, aliens, you know, beings that are existing outside of this third dimension. I mean, you know, Western society says, no, not really, and they have mythologized or more accurately, they fairy-tailed
Yeah.
most religions and most gods, angels, all that stuff has all been turned into fairy tale.
And compressed.
Yeah, compressed greatly.
Yeah.
And turned into fairy tale. So it's not something you're supposed to believe. But
yeah. Well, I heard somebody say, you know, with these ancient stories, you know, they've taken it and put it into a literal standpoint instead of a literary standpoint.
Right.
You know, I think that was Santos that said that.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure, but you know, and that's so true. You know, I don't think these books were meant to be read at a standpoint of, you know, fact for fact. You know, what the words say is what happened. You know.
Right. Right. The metaphor.
Yeah.
It's the story, and it's the moral of the story is what they're all about.
Yeah. And that's what we should be seeking is what the moral of the story is, and not what the actual story is.
Right. Right. Well, you know, this is the ET thing. You know, the beings outside of this dimension, the imperceptible existence beyond us. You know, there's so much evidence out there, scientific evidence out there, that there are realities beyond this one that are just as valid as this one. And so, and as each year passes, there's more and more scientific evidence, irrefutable evidence that's coming up of existence of other planes of reality. I mean, just look at our visual spectrum. Okay, the
narrow little
the narrow little sliver of that spectrum that we're actually able to perceive. I mean, just look at your dogs and cats. All right, right? Just watch them and watch what they're looking at. I mean, why in the hell would a dog stare up in the corner of the room in a blank wall and a blank ceiling, just stare at the corner?
Yeah.
You know, are they seeing something that I'm not able to see? I mean, it's happened to me so many times with my pets that it's inconceivable for me not to believe that they're seeing something there, because they'll be like jerk around and look in that corner,
like something startled them.
And they'll stare. I mean, like, oh, there's something there.
Yeah.
And me, who I am, I could when that kind of stuff happens, there's an energy that comes with it too.
Yeah.
Right. And this is kind of cool for me in particular, because this is like kind of me coming to a point where I know I can see outside the spectrum. Mm-hmm. Right? Okay, this is part of reinforcing me, helping me to grow in an area where it's I'm going to be help me to lower some of my blockages to being able to see outside this spectrum, whether it's visually or internally. My third eye is able to see.
Yeah.
So anyways, the ET reality, or the extra being reality, because we titled the show ET thing, the ET influences, but we really more so talked about just beings that are in general outside of our level of perception.
Yeah, and I think that when we hear the word ET, we think of aliens, right?
We think
coming
of the
from
gray,
a different,
right?
Coming from a different planet, a different star system, right? But if it's just outside of this reality or outside of this dimension, right? Is that not too extraterrestrial? I mean, could they not exist, locally here, but be in a different frequency,
right?
Or be in a different time, or in a different reality, and those. I kind of see it as all of those are the ET influences. It doesn't necessarily mean, beings from a different star system.
Right.
Right. Just not from this specific terrestrial reality.
Right.
Anything besides that is ET.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, that's the kind of thing that as you go down your path, it will be addressed.
Yeah.
And you will learn the truth of it. I mean, it happens. I mean, that's part of learning and knowing the larger reality. So let's see, what else did we? Oh, we had Andrew Gray on, which was Greg's cousin. Yeah, up there in Toronto, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Toronto. Yeah. He teaches a energy school. He makes meditations.
Right.
Audio meditations for all different things, relaxation, coming in connection with Earth. He's got a whole bunch of them, free ones on his website that you can listen to. And we listened to one of them. I'm not sure which one it was.
Mother Speaks or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And that was, it was pretty intense. I mean, he was saying the music he writes for him is just basically channeled music.
Right.
He doesn't really have a plan going into it besides that he wants to make a meditation.
Right.
But yeah, he's got a school over there in Toronto.
And it's energy work.
Yeah.
I mean, he uses a lot of the Reiki type of energies.
He does a
body work and
yoga meditation.
Right, yoga meditation.
Energy yoga.
Right.
Yeah, and last time we recorded this, that it didn't work. But last time we talked about the energy yoga and how they're starting to institute yoga programs in prisons.
Oh, right.
And how beneficial the results are from these yoga programs.
Yeah.
So
anything where you engage your mind, and whether it's straight meditation, or especially if you engage your body, that's where mudras come in. Mudras and the postures, mantras and mudras.
Yeah.
They really have a tremendous effect on your growth. I mean, it's good stuff. And so, let's see. Wow. Oh, yeah. And then right back into my spherical energy thing, right? We did have Perry Mills on, and we talked about spherical energy.
Yeah, inside out.
Inside out and outside in.
And how we see the world. Yeah. Perry was, man. Perry said a lot of things that we had already been thinking and we'd already been talking about, but he brought a whole different aspect, a whole different way of explaining it with the outside in and inside out ways of how we look at reality.
Right. It's man. Reality with a capital R. All capital letters.
All capital. Yeah, and he really got into the inside out, where the things that are happening internally for us is what we're seeing reflected in the outside world. So you clean up the inside, you clean up yourself, and that it will change the way you look at things on the outside.
That is such a common theme.
Yeah.
With practically everyone we talk to. I mean, it's you start on yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta get yourself straight and get yourself centered, and get yourself. If you clean it up inside, just like you said, if you clean it up inside, it starts cleaning up outside.
Yeah.
You reap what you sow. Right? There's a lot of common themes here with everybody that we talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And
it seems like with all these shows that we do, it goes in somehow they just line up in chronological order. Like each topic we talk about, it kind of leads into the next person we're going to interview and talk about whatever we're going to talk about, and then that one leads into the next one. It's just like it, somehow the universe knows the building blocks of the show.
Right. Right. Yeah. So, anyways, I would urge you guys to check out Perry Mills. Actually, check out all the people that we interview, but Perry has got his Spherical Reality book. It should be coming out any time. We'll have to get a hold of him here again.
Yeah.
I think you said the end of this year, right?
Yeah, close to the end of the year.
Yeah. That's. I'm definitely looking forward to that. Should be a very interesting read. He does a really good job of explaining from a different perspective that center point, the center point of consciousness, your reality, and it's just good stuff, guys. So then we had another radio host on.
Yes.
We got Michelle Walling on, and
from N5D Radio.
Oh, from N5D, yeah.
Yeah.
She's got an amazing story. Her talk about a world when
wake up.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. She's one of those beings out there that universe said, okay, time to wake up and get to work
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've had your fun.
Yeah, there was from her story, there was no gradual waking up. It seemed like it was just, I mean, to go from, not doing anything like this in just a few years, to being, the host of N5D Radio,
right?
Making her YouTube videos on her YouTube channel, how to exit
doing energy work,
energy work,
just
life coach.
Yeah.
I mean, she's just been like slammed to the front line. Like she didn't, she skipped boot camp. She skipped AIT.
And we just like we were talking about at the very beginning about how, 50 years down the road, this is all going to seem like a blink of the eye.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the same thing happened there too with Michelle. We look back at her. She's been 5 years now, right?
Yeah.
2010.
From the very beginning of her wake up.
From the beginning of her wake up, 5 years. But 5 years, dudes, that's 5 years.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of shit can happen in 5 years.
Walking your life for 5 years is a long time.
It is, yeah. So we say it's just like a whirlwind at this point, but she did some work.
Oh yeah.
She had to work. When she got the call, she started doing what she had to do. She carried her end of it. It wasn't just all thrown in her lap and here it is, baby, you got it now.
Yeah.
No, she had to do the work. She had to learn. She had to bring this stuff to consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
She had to be able to explain it to herself first to be able to explain it to others. And that's the way all this stuff goes. If you can't explain it to yourself first, if you can't at least metaphorically explain it to yourself, you're not going to be able to really do a whole lot for other people in trying to explain it to them. So that's people get out on the stage sometimes a little early, I think. I'm guilty of that myself. And boy, I'll tell you what, if you're putting out stuff that's not right, there's what's called a splashback effect.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It comes back to you, right? Especially if you're splashing that on conscious people.
Mm.
That's something that I've definitely noticed in my own path, is that when I'm around more conscious people, the energetic effects, especially if I screw up, which has happened once or twice, if I screw up, it's like instant and unmistakable reprisal. Well, here's an example, and this was a few years ago. Ramon was with me with this one. We were at ECETI, and we were working the gate. Okay, we volunteered over there, and we were at the gate and helping guide people into where they needed to go, blah blah blah. And one of the conferences was going on. I can't remember who was speaking that morning, but there were three of us sitting out there in lawn chairs and having conversations, and Ramon and I started talking about somebody in a very negative way. I mean, we were talking about how much bullshit, blah 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 blah. This guy got his head, blah 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 blah, and a butterfly came, and Ramon and I were talking to this other guy, and we both had a common experience. Ramon and I both had a common experience, and we were talking to this guy about somebody else. And this butterfly came down, and it flew right in front of my face, and then circled my head, and then went right next to me and circled Ramon's head, and flew off. And it was the weirdest thing.
Oh yeah.
Our minds went blank. Both Ramon and my minds just went totally blank. We forgot completely what we were talking about. And we were just checked up by universe.
Yeah.
It was amazing the way it was just...
Yeah, stop.
Yeah. we were both told immediately that that's exactly what happened. That we were talking trash.
Yeah.
That we weren't being what's the word I'm looking for? Ethical. I mean, it wasn't a matter of ethics. We were not doing. We weren't putting good stuff out into the universe.
Yeah.
Anyways, God, what started that? I forgot how. Oh, I got butterflies flying around. Oh, and then we had my next show. We had Betsy Lewis on.
Betsy Lewis,
and she's really tapping into earth energies, and although she does kind of she talks a lot about the damage and the destruction and stuff that's happening to the planet, and what we need to do to sort things out and straighten things out.
Yeah.
And we need somebody doing that. We have to have people out there that are bringing these things to mind, and because if there's no recognition of a problem, you're never going to solve it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know for myself, if I've got an issue, I can't. I'm never going to fix it. At least consciously, I'm never going to fix it unless I can recognize it. What is it? That's that. What do they call it? Shadow work, right?
So, yeah, you read my mind. That's what I was going to say. Is we need people, to be able to get into the shadow work, and to bring these things to light, because a lot of us don't know what's actually happening. A lot of us don't take a look at who these people that are put in charge are, who these so-called leaders are, what their history is. A lot of us don't look at, the underlying, and I'm sure it's not people that listen to our show, because it seems like we have some pretty good listeners that are in touch and that, that
right.
do look into these kind of things. But on a wide scale, a lot of people haven't looked into the, financial system and how, and, everybody knows it's corrupt, but how many know how corrupt it is?
Right.
Politics, business leaders, things, earth changes, things that are happening on the earth. She gets, Betsy, she gets into to all these different things. If you look on her website, she had a whole list of predictions for 2015, and she was pretty accurate,
Yeah, I'd say there was 50% hits there.
Yeah.
50% of the things she put out there were definite hits that you could tie into what she was talking about.
Yeah, and there was a few more that were stretches.
Right.
But she's putting it out there. I'm sure it's not a fun thing to have to look at these negative situations that are happening and to report on them. I mean, that takes a lot of courage in anybody to go about this and do that kind of work.
She's looking at Mother Earth, the whole planet, right? Yeah. Now, when I see somebody doing that sort of thing, I know as above, so below. I know that this is a reflection of me, in a sense,
mm-hmm.
as my part of being part of this collective of humanity. Okay, this collective consciousness that we all have, we're all part of. What we're seeing in the world on a greater scale is a reflection of that collective humanity, that collective consciousness. So I see that there's part inside me that needs some work.
Yeah.
Now, whether it's me personally, and depending on what the situation is, or what the issue that is being addressed is, but there's some part that I can play in healing it. Whether I actually bear some of the blackness of whatever is being reflected out there, whether it's like pollution. Okay, so I smoke. Oh God, there's still pollution. Okay,
mm-hmm.
Whatever that reflection is, whether it's something I do or I don't do, or I'm a contributing factor of, or part of the cure of. As we're cleaning ourselves out, we allow that energetically, we're putting out that cleanliness, right? And it's going to help everybody else to get on board, collectively get on board, and that 100th monkey effect, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's where it's that
inside out
correction, the inside out. You know, the correction happens by more people seeing that it's the right move, that's the truth, that it's the way we want it to be, and we quit doing the way we don't want it to be. And the more of us that jump on that boat, the cleaner the reflection becomes.
Mm-hmm.
And when I look at Mother Earth and you know, I see the weather, especially the weather.
Yeah.
Weather excites me. Because when I see a big storm coming up, I'm like, oh, someone's changing. I mean,
Yeah,
seriously,
I
I look at the weather and go, wow, somebody is changing. Somebody is having whether or not it's turmoil or trauma or whatever, there's some people that are shifting, and me along with it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I see myself reflected in the weather all the time. On sunny days, you know, those gorgeous 72-degree, 5-mile-an-hour breeze, perfect afternoon, you know, puffy white clouds in the sky, you know, and that glow coming out of me, you know, that part of it too. You know, we see where energetically it's a good ass day. You know?
Yeah.
So, anyways, much love to Betsy.
Yeah,
I mean.
And one more thing on her.
Talking to her is like talking to my grandma too. I just love her.
Yeah.
You know, I love her like that grandma lady.
Yeah,
you know, and not just because she's you know what, she's 72, 73 or whatever. She's you know, she's there. So, but she just carries that grandma energy for me.
Yeah, you know, and when you look at her Facebook page too, I'm really excited because I just friend requested her after the show, and so, man, she's always posting like cosmic weather. You know, I mean, she's on it. You know, if you want to know what's going on with the sun, you know, friend request her or follow her on her page, and like every day it's updates on, you know, cosmic weather and what's going on. She's really on it, you know, and she's really putting out good information in all different ways. You know? So I really appreciate that. You know, I look at her website, at her Facebook stuff, you know, and you know, I get to find out what's going on with the sun on a daily basis. She's always posting about, you know, sun weather and cosmic weather and solar winds and stuff. It's just, yeah, she's a really sharp lady. She's really on it, and she's really, really caring.
Yeah.
You know, she really cares.
Yeah. Yeah. She just, absolutely. Much love, Betsy. So we had a guy on also here, Reese Thomas.
Yes.
And that was actually that initiated quite a bit of interesting thought for me.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, review, and I looked at people's I looked at people with a different in a different light, you know, because I saw he has these five, right?
Seven. Is it seven?
5 personality types.
Okay.
Right. Remember the personality profiles.
Yeah.
Right. There's 5 personality profiles there, and I was seeing people and being able to see that profile. Now I've been able and tying it into exactly the way Reese explained the things. You got them up there so we can run.
I'm looking for it right now.
Yeah. So he's got them right there. Oh, there. There we go. The creative idealist thinker, the emotional intelligence specialist, the poor me one, the team player, the people pleaser, knowledgeable achiever, or the rule keeper, and the charismatic leader and enforcer. So, and oh man, his book's awesome because you're able to go. There's a worksheet in there where you can go through and do a little questionnaire, and it will basically say you fall under this category or this multitude of categories.
Yeah.
And reading the descriptions and what they're all about, it's like you could see them.
Yeah.
It was cool looking at people and even looking at myself and seeing where I fell in that chart.
Yeah, and with his a worksheet in his book, you go through and you answer the questions, and then you find out where you're at, right? And then you go back through and read the descriptions, and it's like you find out if that's your true personality, or if that's the personality that the world wants you to project, so.
Or who you want yourself to be.
Or who you want yourself to be,
Right.
based on how you're seen. You expect yourself to be a certain way. You expect yourself to be a team player, and a people pleaser, because that's the way you've been brought up. But in all actuality, you could be a creative idealist. So to be able to find out what profile your true self falls underneath, instead of what you've been expected to play this whole time.
Right, and that gives you some amazing insight on what your primary purpose here is.
Yeah.
I mean, and whether or not what you're doing in life is where you're going to find your most joy at.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely is a excellent workbook, and I mean, I call his whole book. I mean, besides all the other great information that's in there, it's a workbook.
Yeah.
It's a book that will help you find your path.
Yeah, true path. And that was one of the things I really liked about. We interviewed him and we watched a couple of YouTube videos, and
oh my God, those YouTube videos were awesome. He
did the.
You could really see it.
Yeah, he pulled people up on stage in this one YouTube video we watched. He had these people take the test to find out what their personality profile was, and then he pulled them up on stage based on what category. And you can see in these people, that they actually, just their physical demeanor.
Stances,
it definitely portrays what profile they are, and it's almost readable, and it
it was readable.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely was, but I really, like I said, I really liked how it says, or how we can find out how we're supposed to be, or how the world wants us to be, as opposed to how our true nature is. It's just so helpful in that sense, because, for me, I seem to get stuck in this team player role, or this people pleaser role, and it's, okay, well, that's my duties, that's what I have to do, when, I feel like I fall more in the category, when I'm by myself in my own space, I feel I'm more in the category of creative idealist or thinker, but just knowing that, there's these two different profiles that I'm falling under, helps to know what decisions to make, helps to know what I should be doing for my true self, for my purpose.
Gives you a good place to start asking yourself questions.
Yeah. Definitely.
Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
What am I doing? Is this what I really want to do? Is this what's really bringing me joy?
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be a better way. And when you do finally find a path to follow, something that is more in alignment with you energetically, it's amazing how universe responds. I mean, a good example is what happened to you this last week, where you've got yourself in a place or something happened where now one of your wishes is come true, and then how to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, big question that came up in your mind, and you open up your email, and there's an email that goes, wow, here's a path.
Yeah. Here you go.
And, I mean, it's just amazing the way universe steps up to the plate and really helps you out when you get on your true path.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. So, Reese Thomas, Discover Your Purpose. Great book, guys. I definitely urge you guys to pop over to his website. And was it the Reese Institute or Reese Thomas?
Yeah.
How's it go?
Well, if you just
TheReeseMethod.com. Yeah, Reese Method, RHYS Method.com. Definitely interesting. His website's kind of cool too. You can actually get a lot of the information right there on his website. It's all explained there too. Barry Eaton, No Goods Buys.
Oh my
Let's talk about life after death, right?
Yeah. Well, in our second hour of that show, I brought the hour in with a dream I had about my dad who just passed here recently. Well, about a year and a half ago now. And man, he was spot on. He asked me if my dad had a brother on the other side waiting for him, and asked me if his name was Paul or if it was Rick. And I said, well, yeah, he had a brother waiting for him on the other side, but his name was Pat. But Paul and Pat's pretty quick. And it wasn't until later on when I realized that if you put Paul and Rick together, Paul Rick, that's pretty close to Patrick.
Right.
And there's no way he would have known this. I mean, that's not. I mean, there's no Google search you could do to find that out.
That one's pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah.
That one's pretty close.
Very close. I mean, I was really, I don't know if the word is impressed or whatever.
Impressed. I was impressed.
Yeah.
And it's kind of rare that I get impressed like that.
Yeah.
I won't say it's rare because I do. I mean, I see it all the time, but to that intensity.
Yeah.
It is definitely unique to see it happen.
Yeah, and I mean that whole show we were doing. I mean the energy that was coming through that show, like the studio where we record this. It was like the whole room was glowing. Everything was bright, was lit up. It was
very high energetic show.
Yeah.
Both of us ended up being so high on energy after the show that said I don't think I got to sleep till 11 or something like that.
It was around 11 o'clock. Yeah, it was a lot to take in and unwind.
Yeah.
There was and even when I got to sleep, I didn't sleep all that great.
Right.
But
right.
Yeah, it was a great show, and the whole recording issue we had. Tell me about that.
So I had a problem with. I mean, this only happened one time in the 6 years that we've been doing the show, where my recorder didn't record. I mean, the file was there, and everything looked like it was there. It shows all the data, it shows how long it was, shows everything. But when I try to move it over into the editor or try to just open to listen to it in the recorder, it was like no file existing or something like that. And this happened to that show. The morning I got up to start editing and get the show posted, it was like, oh shit, the show's gone. It's not here. So got a hold of Reese and Barry, Barry Eaton. Got a hold of Barry, and I was like, oh man, Barry, our show didn't record. We're going to have to record this again, because he mentioned that he was recording it.
Yeah.
But, no, he said something about recording and then didn't do it at the beginning. Anyways, found out he recorded it, but he couldn't find the recording. It was gone. It disappeared off of his computer. I mean, it was just nowhere to be found. And so we decided we were just going to redo the show, and we set it up for that Thursday. And so Wednesday, Barry drops me an email, and he says, "You will not believe it, but it showed up." So I got a hold of Barry, and it was like he said it just showed up on his desktop.
Yeah.
The recording, a good recording. So he sent us a recording, and we were able to get that show out. But man, what a trip! Yeah. We were just getting ready to re-record too.
Yeah, and the show was so good.
Yeah.
It's like there's no possible way we can duplicate that. And it was, and we would love to have Barry on for, a sequel to the first show. But there's no way we could have recorded it really, as a fresh show without it being a sequel show. Yeah,
we couldn't have gone over all the same stuff again.
Yeah,
I mean, there was too much really amazing stuff that came through in that show.
Yeah.
We met a friend of his too during that show. I actually added that in on the show, the conversation with Ann,
Yeah.
numerologist, which we still need to set up a show with, which we will be doing here shortly. That's another aspect and influence on Barry's life. And oh man, he has an interesting path himself. I mean, coming out of mainstream media into doing this sort of work. Oh wow.
Yeah.
I mean, we see this all over the planet now, where their lives are changed dramatically from stumbling onto the truth or being hit upside the head with a proverbial 2x4, or just there's so many that are coming in now to have this going their whole lives, and now the world is in a place where it's okay to talk about it.
Yeah, and there's a platform.
We have
We have internet. You know, it doesn't take too much, you know, to be able to get your message out there now.
Yeah, people can write their books now, and their books, since this stuff is becoming more acceptable, their stories are actually read now. Where 20 years ago, 30 years ago, putting this sort of things out, it would have been hard to swallow by the masses. You know, they would not. Wasn't as lucrative for a person to share their story. A lot of energy expended for very little return. And I'm not just talking about the money. I'm talking energetically. This stuff was just not accepted the way it is now. So thank God for the internet. I mean, seriously, thank God for the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, without the internet, none of this would be happening the way it is now on the planet. Yeah. Well, I can't say that because where there's a will, there's a way. But there has to be
that explosive growth of it.
That communication between all on the planet has to be there in a real third dimensional way for this consciousness, for this mind, this level of awareness here to be able to step out of this level of awareness. So it takes this level to get out of this level, right? And it takes maximization of this level to be able to step out of this level.
And you know, and I mean, shit, Barry, that's what Barry did. I mean, he was involved in the mainstream. You know, I mean, he did his radio show 5 nights a week. He was a news broadcaster and a whole bunch of other things, you know, in the mainstream. And now, you know, it's just so awesome that, you know, you can go from having that type of notoriety in the mainstream to bridge this into the new work he's doing now, you know, which is, you know, expanding people and opening people up. And this was it seemed like this was a guy who, you know, for so long, you know, he wasn't into this kind of stuff.
He wasn't at all. And that gives this material so much more credibility. When you see somebody who is successful in the third dimension, you know, that gives that up or takes a different path, to share this material, coming out of those places, you know, those people that are coming out of the corporate world. There's tons of people that have come out of the corporate world and said that just wasn't right.
Yeah.
It wasn't right for this time. And they're changing their lives and changing many other people's lives. So, man, great time to be here, right?
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. Well, we had Franco on a second time in the last couple of months. And we talked a lot about channeling and empathy.
Yeah.
And wow, that whole second hour was on empathy, right?
Oh. Yeah, that was something else. God, it just what was one of the things we talked about? Empathy as opposed to I'm just drawing a blank right now.
Oh, you got butterflies flying around your head. So. Oh, yeah. Well, so he has a cool take on channeling.
Yeah.
You know, I think, and I tend to agree with him. I think it's not so much channeling as, and we all do it. And it's not so much channeling as in tapping into our own higher sources, our own higher being, you know, our higher selves.
Having the ability to get out of your way and listen.
Right.
You know, and, you know, being able to differentiate,
right,
you know, to what you're listening to.
Right. Yeah, there's so many of the so many of the beings that are quote unquote being channeled, and you know, you can take there's a lot of discernment that has to happen, and he really stressed that in that show, that you do have to use your discernment when talking to people who, or listening to people who are quote unquote channeling, because you can't, well, sometimes it's pretty obvious, but you can't always discern whether or not they're actually tapping into that archetypical energy, or whether or not they're being
we were talking about the difference between channeling and mediumship.
Right, exactly. And there's not a lot of difference there.
Yeah.
It really isn't.
Yeah, well, one of the things we got into with that was, you know, when you're a medium, you're channeling spirit.
Dead people. Right.
Yeah, as opposed to channeling when you're channeling, you know, ETs, or, you know, extra dimensional beings or interdimensional beings, whatever you want to call them.
Archetypical energies.
Yeah.
Whether you're using one of those collective voices, I personally believe that more people are connecting into what I term as the collective voice, where it's the collective consciousness of humanity, because that's the next level up from here, from where our level of consciousness is. The one that's closest to us, and metaphorically closest to us, energetically closest to us, that we're able to access to and to tap into, is that collective consciousness level. And within that, there's the ability for us to create a voice, and it can adopt any personality that mythology has taught us. So we can assign this name to the collective voice that we're channeling, and it will actually it will channel and speak in a manner that is reflective of our expectation of that mythology. Yeah. Okay, so whether it's Michael or Mary or Jesus or whatever that name is, we receive the voice and hear the voice in a manner that's directly reflective of our expectation of what that voice is going to say, what that voice is going to sound like, how what personality is going to be behind it. Anyways, I mean, and Franco kind of alluded to the exact same thing that I just said there, that, you know, it can be, a lot of mistakes are made as far as the assigning names to what's coming through.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, and along those lines, you know, I really try to focus on, you know, what is my higher self saying? You know, that's who I'm looking to as a more perfected aspect of myself,
right? As
opposed to any other type of being or any other type of entity that's out there. You know, I want to know. I feel that, you know, I know what's best for me. No, not saying that I know what's best for me here in this third dimensional reality, but the higher aspect of self, the more perfected aspect of self, is going to know what's best for me, because it's me. You know,
right.
that portion of myself knew what I was getting into, knew what my challenges and my issues were going to be when I manifested here on the third dimension. So that's who I contact with. That's who who I channel, so to speak, I guess, is not some other entity, but me.
You know, I think it'd be cool to talk to some of these mythological beings, whether they were manifest in the third dimensional body as a personality or not.
Yeah.
I think it'd be kind of cool to actually talk to some of them.
Oh yeah.
And in a sense, there's been times where I'm pretty sure that I talked to things that at least where whether they were a projection of my expectation and me talking to higher self or the collective or whatever it was, or whether or not they were those actual beings, they sure seemed like those actual beings. But I think what it is primarily is that it is our connection to our higher selves. I think that's definitely, it's obviously, if you think about it, it's going to be the easiest one that we're going to be able to communicate with.
Yeah.
And I think regardless whether or not we're speaking to another entity or not, I think it has to channel through that higher self. I think it has to come through that to be able to come through this. You know, I'm pointing at myself.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you know, that does make sense, because shouldn't there be some sort of filtration system? Shouldn't there be some kind of fail-safe that we put on ourselves? So, you know, that we're not going to get, you know, too much of the, you know, if there is these negative forces that, you know, these
our
negative
own
forces,
filters.
Yeah.
Our own filters.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Has to. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but that was a really good show, you know, with channeling, and we really got into empathy, you know, and just the whole outlook of empathy. Yeah, a good listen. Yeah, I would definitely urge, you know, just.
And Franco's doing some amazing work out there, and we'll have him on again.
Oh yeah,
I think
shortly.
we pretty shortly. Yeah, he'll be coming up before you know it.
Oh yeah.
And then there's good old Daryl Berry.
Yes.
Daryl Berry Jr.
Yeah. Every time I hear his name or read his name, the first word that pops up is choice.
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 Yep.
Yeah. Yep. He really brought that into the front, you know, looking glass, is that everything is choice. You know, every aspect of our life is choice. He had that good metaphor where there's, you know, 100 people in a boat, and 2 people want to row the boat off a waterfall or something, you know, and 98 people are sitting back, you know, just bitching about it and not doing anything about it. You know, those 98 people are making a choice not to do anything. You know, those 2 people that are rowing in the wrong direction, they have no force, they have no power against our collective power. But if we're not collectively demonstrating our power, if we're not using it, then
those 2 people are going to be able to.
Then they have everything.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, he brought up some really good. I mean, it's like, okay, how can you argue with that?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's hard to bring common sense into this. You know, it's hard to bring common sense into this stuff, but there's certain people out there that are able to build a metaphor, build a story, and point some of the things out to us that are just flat out hard to argue with.
Yeah. Well, you know, we
They
talk
make too
about
much
blaming.
sense.
Yeah, we talk about blaming. You know, we blame our corporations, and we blame our government, we blame our media. You know, and it's all about blaming. So it it's not about the whole blaming situation, but it's not about blaming other people, you know, or blaming other organizations. You know, we're trying to put our problems off onto the other. You know, when I'm not saying that the only person to blame is ourselves, but the only person to be held accountable or to take accountability is ourselves, because we are making all of these choices. You know, I mean, we make a choice where we shop at. We make a choice where we spend our money at. You know, so if we're, you know, complaining about these large corporations, yet we're funding them, you know, and yet we're still blaming them for the issues that are going on in the world today. You know, we're blaming our politicians for the way our society is. We're blaming the oil company because we don't have sustainable energy. You know, we're blaming all these people, but yet we're supporting them at the same time. We're making the choice to do that. You know, we as the 98 others in the boat, we're not picking up the paddles and rowing in the opposite direction. You know, so the only person to be held accountable is us, because we as a large can control that.
And this works on this works on both the personal and a collective level. I mean, all of these things work on both the personal and the collective levels. I mean, pretty much everything we've talked about all night, this whole show is all. I mean, all of the people we talked to, everything is applied to both personally and collectively. I mean, because there is a collective here that is reflected as the world at large, and so we may not personally be able to change Monsanto, you know, get rid of all the GMO seeds. We may not personally be able to do that ourselves as an individual.
Yeah.
But our contribution to the collective gets us closer to being able to accomplish that. So when we decide that, us personally, I decide that I'm no longer going to buy anything Monsanto has anything to do with.
Yep.
Then I have just added my energy and my contribution to fixing that problem.
And just like you said, that spherical bubble of energy that interacts in this reality.
Exactly. And now I've taken on the role of being a energy transmitter. Okay, and everybody else around me is going to absorb some of that energy because of my mindset has now adopted something that is not supporting Monsanto. And everybody around me is going to feel that energy from me. And with some of them, it may take a while, or it may take other exposures for them to be able to get past their veils and to bring it to a point where they become conscious of it and are able to take action. But eventually that'll happen if it is something that is right for humanity and the path that we're choosing as a collective. Mm-hmm. So it's just amazing the way this energy works.
Yeah,
absolutely amazing the way it works.
And I could definitely see how, you know, if you're looking from an outside in view, as you know, we talked about earlier, I can see how it feels almost like we are powerless. You know, I mean,
right.
I mean, what is this? You know, $5 I'm going to spend or $20 I'm going to spend at Walmart. What's that actually going to do? You know, and then we get into this whole convenience thing. It's just easier to go over to one of these chain stores and get whatever we want, and yeah, it's going to save us, you know, 25 cents in the long run if we shop at one of these chain stores. But like I said, we're making the choice to support that.
Right. Each
and every one of us, every time we do that. So it is all about choices. How are we going to choose? I mean, you know, CNN and Fox News and MSNBC and, you know, all these other news sources and all these other media outlets that we support. Every time we turn on our TV to Spike TV and to, you know, home improvement shows, to the news, to whatever we turn our TV on to watch, you know, they're getting their advertisements through. They're getting their ratings are going up one by one. Each one of us who make the conscious choice to support that. You know, even if we're watching it and, you know, we don't support it, but we're still watching it. We're still choosing to have our ratings be up there too. You know, we're adding to the collective. You know, so if today one person stops and tomorrow 2 people stop, the next day 4 people stop, you know, by the end of the month, you know, how much is that going to grow?
And once it hits, there's a critical mass that happens.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is all boils down to science, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, and the energy, once it hits a critical mass, then it has a cascading effect, where it just permeates everything else once it hits that point. It's like the glass is now full, and everything else that is poured into the glass just spills over.
Yeah.
Right. And it spills over quicker and more, and it exponentially grows because of the energy that is more people. Each one that is added to the glass, they're actually pouring more into the glass.
Yeah.
And it's just, I had a visual there.
Yeah. Well, you know, if your glass is full, you have no more room. You know, if you already say, I know it. You know, I mean, I'm to a point now to where I'm open, but I don't know shit.
Right.
You know, I'm open. You know, what is your opinion? You know, what is your outlook on it? You know, I don't know, because as soon as I say I know, then my glass is full, and there's no more room for new ideas. And then you know, and this whole, you know, energy awakening, you know, situation that's happening across the globe right now. You know, we just have to be open. You know, I mean, my ideas of reality change on a regular basis.
Oh yeah.
You know, because I'm always open to it. You know, and I'm always learning something new. Now, if I got, you know, some rigid outlook on how it is, you know, and I think, oh, I got it now, right? Then nothing else is going to come in. Nothing else I hear is going to be able to penetrate and open my mind up to different ways of thinking.
Yeah.
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 So
Richard Barrett.
Oh my goodness, Richard Barrett. So that was our last show, and he had the 7 levels of consciousness. 7 levels of consciousness based. They could be 7 levels of individual consciousness, or you know, this
He kind of
this guideline he made up.
He kind of made this up from going back into, who was it? Freud? No, not Freud.
It was one of those psychologists or psychiatric.
Was it Freud?
It was something to do with some of Freud's work, but
Malov or
yeah,
I don't remember who it was.
But they classified, what was it? They classified schizophrenic people,
right,
or people in
maybe
in the
it was
crazy
Freud.
house.
Right. Yeah, they through their diagnosis process of psychiatric issues. You know, this is back in the 30s, right?
Yeah.
30s, 40s, when anybody was unstable, they put them in the crazy house, right?
Yep.
The loony bin.
Padded rooms.
Right, padded rooms, and they were diagnosing and figuring out what all these different things that they were labeling.
Yep.
They were labeling schizophrenia, all sorts of disorders, mental disorders that they were actually figuring out, and they were figuring out ways to actually help cure them too. I mean, this is out of all this came, all the subconscious work that Freud did, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just some amazing stuff happened back then. But out of all these different diagnoses of different consciousness
Levels of
illnesses,
yeah.
He was able to kind of associate a lot of those things and the different levels that were set up back then to our levels of consciousness in a more positive way.
Yeah, it seemed like the doctors that were doing this back in the 30s, they mainly focused on the negative aspects. You know, what are your 7 levels of consciousness on the negative side? You know, not getting into the into the aspects of, well, what's your 7 levels on a positive side? You know, okay, we got the negative taken care of. We got that. Now let's go on to the positive side. And it wasn't until, you know, here pretty recently where the flip side of the coin was talked about and was, you know, research was done on, and he gets into what he talks about is entropy and our personal entropy levels to our workplace entropy levels to our country entropy levels, you know, the world entropy levels. And, you know, for those who aren't familiar with entropy, the higher the entropy, the more the love. The lower the entropy, the more the love. The higher the entropy, the more the fear, the more the chaos. And so, you know, and his way of doing this was, you know, super simple. You know, he had a list of 50 different words.
Right, something like that, yeah.
And you go through the list and you pick out what are the top 10 most important words for you. You know, and based on those words, you know, and you have to be honest with yourself. You know, everything, you know, and in this whole line of work, you have to be honest with yourself. You know, yeah, we can lie to anybody else, but, you know, when you lie to yourself, it's just, you know, it's counterproductive to lie, period. But I mean, especially lying to yourself and, you know, being delusional, you know, it's just not going to work. So if you go through this questionnaire, you can find out what your entropy levels are, and he bases them on these seven layers of consciousness. And man, these 7 layers of consciousness line up, you know, one from one with the chakras. And I believe when he first started doing this work, you know, this was I think he started this back in the late 90s, and I'm pretty sure that, you know, he really didn't have a understanding of the whole chakra system, and he wasn't trying to correlate this to the chakra systems at all. But what ended up happening is that that's just the way it came out. You know, I mean, you're seeing a mirror from, you know, the chakra centers mirroring the 7 levels of consciousness that he came up with. So it's like a sync right there. And he starts, you know, with, you know, the first layer of consciousness is survival. The second is relationship. The third is self-esteem. The fourth is transformation. The fifth is internal cohesion. The sixth is making a difference. And the seventh is service. And he made a diagram showing this. And it's like, and the diagram goes from 1 at the bottom to 7 at the top. And 1 through 3 goes into a triangle going up, where 5 through 7 goes into an inverted triangle. So it looks like an hourglass, with the fourth center, or the fourth layer of consciousness, being transformation in the center. And that's visualized as a circle in the center. So it's like an hourglass shape, and in the center is the circle. And if you relate that to the chakras, it's an hourglass shape with the heart chakra in the center. You know, and we've talked many times about, you know, we can live on these lower 3 chakras, you know, on survival and relationship and self-esteem. You know, surviving, conforming, and differentiating. You know, and we can draw a lot of power, you know, when we climb that ladder and we master the lower 3 chakras. We can gain a lot of power from that. And we see, you know, these people, these Hollywood stars and these top profile musicians and these corporate leaders and these politicians, and they're drawing, it seems like they're drawing a lot of power from these lower 3 chakras. You know, they're at the pinnacle of these lower 3 chakras, and they've gained all this power. You know, and they're basically, you know, the ones that are driving the world right now. But yet those of us who master those lower 3 levels, and we use the heart center to transform all of those and expand from those up into our throat, our third eye, and our crown. You know, or how he calls them, the internal cohesion, the making a difference, and the service. And we can see how there's the power we can get from combining all of the 7 layers just expands out. And, you know, and this diagram he shows, you know, it shows it expanding out, and it just keeps expanding out. You know, as long as we're not stuck, as long as we don't get stuck in our lower 3 chakras or our lower 3 levels of consciousness.
This would be a good thing to do on a regular basis for yourself. Mm-hmm. You know, a good gauging tool where you can actually see where you're at on your own growth. Yeah. I mean, I think I'm going to do this personal assessment at least once a year. I think maybe even once every 6 months. Yeah, I was going to say twice a year. Yeah. Just and watch how things change. Keep an eye on where you know, when you do this, his personal assessment online on his website, it's actually pretty cool. You know, I did that before the show last week, and it was actually pretty revealing for me. Gave me a pretty good idea, and I haven't been pulling the wool over my own eyes. I have a pretty good assessment. It was really in line with my own personal assessment of where I was. Yeah, I know. I still have stuff to work on, right?
Yeah,
like we all
do.
But it was pretty revealing in the fact. I don't know. It was accurate.
Yeah.
Good stuff. And I can see it as being an excellent tool for me to be able to see things that I can work on. What's my next step? You know, where's the next place that I can really do myself some real good? I mean, because we all want to be at that pinnacle of consciousness, right?
Yeah.
We want to be the most aware and the most knowing and the most understanding being that we can be. We want to be successful in life. And with this whole movement of consciousness, I think being successful, and there's a balance there between 3D and 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12, 15D,
Yeah.
right? But using a tool like this gives you the ability to look at where your next step should be. What do I need to work on? You can look at things, oh, wow, I really need to clean this area up.
Mm-hmm.
I need to start focusing more on the things that matter. And he's done a really good job of setting out some really good things to aspire to. You know, when you look at the top of his chart there's it's service, right? And we all know all about service and service to self and service to others, et cetera, et cetera. There's a balance there too. But understanding what service is and what its benefits are. Because when you really get into service on this planet, in this experience that we're having here, universe responds. It gives you, I mean, things come to you. You walk that charmed life in service. When it's true service. You know, I'm not talking about somebody, you know, I volunteer 10 hours a day, 8 days a week, you know, that's service. Or no, there's a difference. There's a difference in what the service that you're rendering is, whether or not it's aligned with your true purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, because we all have a specific purpose, and that is in alignment with our being, that it's going to have the greatest effect in the world and the most beneficial effect in the world. And if we're living in alignment with those things, that service looks different for each one of us. I mean, that service could be sweeping the streets with a smile on your face. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the full spectrum. Though.
Yeah, and you know, there's a difference between service and doing something for the acknowledgement of doing it.
Right.
You know, oh, I volunteer at the homeless shelter. Like you said, I volunteer at the homeless shelter, you know, 8 days a week, you know, 10 hours a day. You know, I spend all my time there volunteering just so you can go and brag about volunteering so much at the homeless shelter. That's not service.
No, that's not service. Yeah, there's, well,
in a sense, it is service in a sense, but you know, it's like if you're doing it only for the recognition to say, "Oh, look at me," you know, it's not coming from that higher point,
right?
That true point,
right?
You know, but I mean, all this stuff, you know, with you know, Reese Thomas to Richard Barrett and everybody in between, you know, these are all different tools that we can assess ourselves honestly with. You know, and we don't need to go anyplace else besides where we're already at. You know, pick up your cell phone and you can, you know, look at these websites and you can, you know, read about it and you can learn about yourself. And, you know, like we said earlier, the first, it's if we don't recognize that there's an issue, how can we begin to, you know, address that issue? You know, and these are all tools for us to put in our tool bags to learn about ourselves. And you know, we don't have to share it with anybody. We don't have to go and see a counselor. We don't have to go see anybody to be able to, you know, do this self-discovery, you know. I mean, you're only talking to yourself. You don't have to make any kind of impression on somebody else or be like somebody else wants you to be. You know, you can do all this stuff in the privacy, in your own privacy.
Be honest with yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so important, to really be honest with yourself. Because if you're not honest with yourself, you can't expect yourself to be honest with it. You're not going to be honest with others.
Yep.
do you really feel that way, man?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it all keeps going right back to self.
Yeah.
Fixing yourself first. I mean, and so many people talk that, preach it.
Yeah.
And there's truth there. There really is big truth there.
Yeah. I was really happy I wasn't so-called happy or sad, but we looked at the results from Richard Barrett's assessment of America. And I think it was broke down into 3 categories: how the individual sees America, how the individual wants to see America, and how the individual feels America is seen by others, not only in our nation but by others around the world. And our entropy levels in this is what it was testing, is the way that we see ourselves and our close groups of friends. We see them, and our entropy level was at 4%, which is outstanding. I mean, that's very, very low entropy. And the way that we want to be seen and the way that we want to see ourselves, our entropy level was at 4%. So, also really low, really good, ton of love there, But the way that we see ourselves being projected to the world, our entropy was at 52%. And that is a huge difference between how the individuals feel, how the individuals want to feel, and how the individuals feel like we're seen.
Right. He talked about, he told us a story about, where was that, down in South America somewhere or something like that? Where he was giving he was giving a lecture, and he told them that their entropy level was at like 54. Oh, it was Iceland.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he said your entropy level's at 54%, and I would, if it was a company, I would advise a company that they were getting ready to go bankrupt.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks later, Iceland goes bankrupt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it was like, okay, well, the guy might have something going on here, and he might have been hitting the nail on the head.
Yeah.
The way he's gauging this stuff and he's charted it out, it's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
It's really accurate. And if you can look at that, the way
the algorithm of it.
Right. If you can look at the way the accuracy it has for a nation, I mean, or companies, and he does a lot of work with businesses and companies with this value center thing. So, if you can take that and use it in your own personal life, and gauge yourself and see where your entropy's at, see what areas you need to work on. Are you getting ready to go bankrupt? You can really identify some stuff within your own self to be able to address and fix, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, good stuff.
Yeah.
Really good stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely a way to look at yourself, from a non-biased point of view, and make corrections where corrections need to be made. And it's free from judgment from anybody, because this is something that you're personally doing. And you don't have to involve anybody else in it.
Right.
I mean, great tools. Great tools.
Yeah. So I've just been really, I've really enjoyed the path that the show's been on. And the different guests that we're bringing on, and the different subjects that we've been talking about. And I just love the way things have been rolling out. We've gotten some really amazing information out there, and if people will take what we've been talking about and really start to apply it in their lives, then we've got a lot of change happening. We've got an awful lot of change happening. I know I got a lot of change happening in my own life. I mean, just my general outlook on everything. I went through a couple of years there where there was some pessimism that was coming out, right? Okay, I was getting a little frustrated with the world and frustrated with myself, and especially the last few months, my optimistic attitude has really regained itself. It's come back with a vigor, and I'm very, very optimistic about our future here on the planet. I'm very optimistic about my future. I found that we can do what we need to do here, and we can have fun while we're doing it. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be hard work. Now, it doesn't have to be painful work. It can be absolutely hilarious and joyful and absolutely enjoyable work.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're taught that anything worth having is something worth working for, and we're taught that it has to be hard work. Anything good that we're going to get out of life, we have to work extremely hard for. We have to sweat and bleed for it. But is that truly the case? I mean, especially when it comes into self-discovery. Do we have to sweat and bleed for it? Or can we just, acknowledge there's more and be open to the knowledge that there is more, and just being open to be able to accept that, and what comes in is what comes in, and we're in a rush, we're in a race, it seems like. And we want all this knowledge right now, and it just seems to.
Well, I do.
Yeah, me too.
I want it all yesterday.
Yeah, and it just dribbles in.
But I've definitely come to a place where I'm okay with what I get.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for what I get.
Grateful.
And I think that's been one of the keys for me has been that gratitude card. Mm-hmm. Actually expressing gratitude. I mean, every morning I get up and I'm like, I'm grateful. I'm so grateful for where I am, for what I have, and for what I'm doing, for everyone. I'm grateful. I just pick every morning. I pick that grateful attitude up,
mm-hmm.
and it has made a huge difference in my overall outlook on everything. I mean, the way I'm able to absorb or take the same crap that used to really set me over the edge yesterday, I'm now able, it just rolls off. That path is clear type thing, So, yeah, much gratitude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For every situation that comes up, because,
it's all got a silver lining, right?
It does, and it's so easy just to, react,
That's the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, react, judgment. I mean, everything else just comes spewing out so easily, and it's like, and when it starts, it feels so good sometimes. Just be like, oh, you son of a, but hold on now. I mean, what purpose is that serving? Is that going to help anybody out? Is that going to help yourself out? Is that going to help others around you out? I mean, recognizing that every scenario in life is an opportunity to learn something. Every choice that you make is an opportunity to make a good choice. Every time you eat something, every time you shop somewhere, every time you do anything, you have the option to make a good choice or a not so good choice. How are we going to choose?
And in retrospect, we can judge that. We can go, that was a good choice, that was a bad choice, right? Yeah. I guess the master's way is to always respond.
Yeah.
And not react.
And what is your definition of the difference between responding and reacting?
My definition difference between responding and reacting. When I react, it's always emotionally charged on some level. It's got a huge emotional charge to it. And normally, that emotion is what's projected by whatever I'm reacting to. Mm. It's not my own personal projection. Yeah, you pick it up when I'm.
Yeah.
So when I respond, that's when I can see the emotional charge that comes with whatever situation it was, but I'm able to cancel the emotional charge out of myself, and I'm not allowing that charge to affect me negatively. And that's the key. When I stop it from affecting me negatively, then a natural response comes out. Mm-hmm. And I'm not charged with the same emotional energy that it's projected towards me with.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes perfect sense. You know, because it is, you know, when these scenarios happen, you know, and, you know, we can react or we can respond, you know, like, you know, get in a fight with your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whatever, you know, or, you know, somebody says something crazy to you, you know, well, that emotion that's coming off of that situation, you know, is directly affecting your energy field, you know, and how do you want to, you know, do you want to speak your words and do your actions based on that emotion that's coming off of it? Or do you want to step back and take a non-biased point of view and look at the whole picture and look at what's going on and not have that emotional connection with it, you know, and have a more, more open.
So we have the choice to do the right thing or do the emotionally charged thing. Now, sometimes they're both the same, but
how you approach it.
When people react, the majority of the time, the reactions are going to be not necessarily the best thing that could have happened in the situation.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, there's things that supersede this, like, you know, if you're reacting to something coming at you that's going to do you physical bodily damage, you know, you just don't stand there and take it, right?
Yeah.
You react, you know, you're going to duck, whatever.
But if it's a situation where, you know, somebody calls you a name.
We're talking about our interpersonal relationships here. There's the response is typically, and I say typically because sometimes there's malice in a response, but typically the response is at least seeking the best possible way to deal with a situation.
Yeah.
And the reaction just throws out all consideration of that.
Yeah. It's what's going to be emotionally pleasing right now.
Right.
To, you know, based on the emotions that are being broadcasted to you.
Right. So, anyways.
Yeah.
we've had a interesting last couple of months of shows, and you know, our own personal growth and the things that we've gone through ourselves, and you know, I know a lot of people are out there you know, dealing with the world and dealing with these new realities for themselves. And, you know, sometimes it can seem like a struggle, and it can seem like a lot to deal with, and a lot to try to integrate into life. To how do I really apply this stuff into my life? How can I do it? I keep slipping back into, you know, the third dimensional oblivious awareness where I'm just doing my thing without any consideration to life or higher truths. You know, how do I do this stuff? You know, how do I really make it who I am? You know, that comes with time, and so I urge patience to everybody, me included. And I've seen through my own personal experience, I've seen that as I continue to work on this stuff for me, it becomes more and more a constant part of my awareness. I mean, sure, I still waffle back and forth just like everybody does from you know, the higher awareness states into, you know, the third dimensional oblivious to everything outside of what I'm doing states. But my ability to be aware of things, especially things that might really matter, it has become so much easier to do as time goes on, and I keep bringing this stuff back into my awareness. The more and more I go, okay, let's be conscious, Tom. Okay, let's be conscious, Tom. Okay, let's be conscious, Tom. It happens more and more often. It stays there longer. So it is a growth process for all of us, and we are making tremendous headway as a collective and as individuals. We're all growing so much now, and waking up so much now.
Well, it's a difference between, like you can use the example, somebody goes on a diet, right? Somebody goes on a diet, the diet's going to last for what, a week, a month, a couple months. It's a diet. There's a start point and an end point. Whereas if somebody is going to do a lifestyle change,
right?
There is no end point to it. It's a lifestyle change, and that's what this is. It's a lifestyle change. There is no end point to it. There is no okay, I'm going to do this for a couple months, and no, it is a lifestyle change. We little by little, what we focus on and what we think about and the actions we do, little by little change. As long as we're making steps forward, as long as we're doing our part, the universe is going to do its part.
Right.
We just have to, have that lifestyle change. Have that way of looking at things change. Realize how powerful we are.
And we have experiences along the way that we can't go backwards from. I mean, you have that. You get that metaphysical experience, whatever it is, that what do they call them? Spiritual awakening, or that undeniable the UFO that flies right in front of you. You can't take that back. Right? It was an experience you had that is outside of standard, normal, everyday occurrences. So, I mean, although things like that are becoming everyday occurrences, but it's something that can't be taken away from you and you can't go back from. So now it has become a part of your awareness, a part of your consciousness. Now we can forget about it for a while. We can just not have it in our awareness for a while. And depending on its importance in our lives, on whether or not it continues to come back up for us. And it's something that we draw into our active state of being. It changes us.
Yeah.
And anyways, I'm rambling. Oh, well, we've got a exciting lineup of some guests coming on. We're going to be talking to Elizabeth Joyce next week. That's going to be an awesome show. She's quite a renowned psychic, very well known through the psychic world. She's been doing it for a long time. I found out she's an identical twin.
Oh yeah.
She's one of a pair of identical twins, I guess. So I'll have to ask her about that. That's
interesting.
And there's so many stories out there about twins and identical twins and their psychic connections and that sort of thing. That it's going to be an interesting conversation to have with her. She wrote a book on chakras, and so these are some chakras that have been really we've always had, but they've really become activated since December 21st, 2012. This is I think she goes over 7 other chakras besides our primary 7 chakras. So that's going to be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, this starts at 0 and goes 8 to
8.5 to whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it'll be fun.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I mean, this is we'll talk about it next week. And then we got Marie Ange. I'm going to have to ask her to pronounce her last name. Figuralis. Anyways, well, this book that I've got in my hands right now that they sent us is an amazing piece of work. It's called Angels, the Definitive Guide to Angels from Around the World. And, oh my God, you want an encyclopedia on angels and all the different things you can do with that angel energy? Wow, this is going to be a really cool show.
Yeah, it's a big book. I think it's 560 some pages long, and it goes into detail. And I mean, like what the purpose of the angels are, how to communicate with them, what their history is. You know, what angels we talk to for different needs. I mean, it's a very, very in-depth book.
Right.
It's a big book.
It's going to be a good show.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good show. And then we'll be having Franco back on,
yes.
and then we'll have to have Ann on,
Yeah.
Get some numerology in here.
Yeah.
So things are looking up, guys.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to throw in here before we get out of here, Jake?
Just that I'm grateful for all you out there listening, and I'm very grateful for the guests we've had on here, and I'm grateful for Tom for allowing me this opportunity to learn, you know, and to, you know, constantly expand my mind every single week, you know, into whole new ways of thinking and getting, you know, these questions answered in all different ways, you know. So I'm just radiating gratitude right now for all.
Much gratitude, yes. You guys out there, thank you for keeping the lights on. You know, we love you guys, and you know, the reason we do the show is not only for ourselves. I mean, ourselves too, but for you guys primarily. I mean, we're trying to do our part to be proactive in helping to raise the awareness of the planet, help everybody on their own personal paths, and make this heaven on earth.
Yeah,
it's good stuff.
Good stuff.
All right, guys, we will talk to you next week with Elizabeth Joyce. Condemnation without investigation is the height of ignorance.
Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change.
Namaste, my friend.
You've been missing along the way. Put aside your petty fight and serve your dignity. You've got to show the heart that you've been hiding and set it free. There's just one door. We're gone wrong. You're deserving. And if the cure for one, the cure for us all. There's an urgent message trying to reach you. It's yourself and pick up the call. You gotta pick up the call. It came the same way the very next day. The words they just have kept on coming through. Hard to conceive if you believe me. This is what you really want to do. You got to tune into your inner being. Now let it be. You got to activate your inner vision. Now let it see. Cast out the doubt, the mindless chatter. Now let it go. It's time to tap into the heart of the matter. Don't you know there's just one door in a world gone wrong. We only know it. And if the cure for one, the cure for all. Step right up and don't be shy. Excuse yourself and pick up the call. You gotta pick up the call. I go, one last thing you need to know, my friend. You want to keep it complicated, it's really all quite simple in the end. You got to tune into your inner being, now let it be. You got to activate your inner vision, now let it be. Cast out the doubt, the mind is shattered, now let it go. It's time to tap into the heart of the matter. Cause don't you know, there's just one cure in a world gone wrong. We only love it, and it's the cure for one, it's the cure for us all. Step right up and don't be shy. Got to look yourself right in the eye. There's a magic moment trying to meet you, an urgent message trying to reach you. The phone is ringing off the wall, so pick up the call. You gotta pick up the call. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. Pick up the call.